Noah was born as the 13th son in the royal family, as one of the 13 imperial princes born from the loins of the king. He opens up his eyes to find a kindly woman looking down at him and wonders whether this person is his mother or just some maid. But before he could figure that out, the face of an old bearded man which turns out to be his father, and the king comes near him to inspect him from top to bottom. The king mentions that Noah seems to have taken after his mother, and his mother immediately shies away, claiming that his eyes and eyebrows look just like that of the king. Noah notices that he can see his own stats, but nothing seems to make sense for him just yet. Suddenly, one of the court mages walks up and holds him delicately in his arms before announcing to the king that Noah has the magical affinity of water. The king laughs at that merrily, claiming that when Noah comes of age, he will be given the lands of southern kingdoms where most of the water mage clans live so that he can rule over them justly. With that, the king asks the court mage to have a look at Noah's stats. But the moment his stats are revealed, the entire court goes silent, while even the king has trouble believing his own eyes. One of the people in the court scream that it's a miracle, while the others join the chant, which confuses Noah, who then checks his own stats, only to realize that he has the stats of an SS-ranked water mage, which is unheard of, let alone attaining it at birth. 6 years pass by after that day, and Noah has grown up to be a healthy young lad. He slowly learnt about the kingdom of mirrors, which his father rules over, where things have been calm for several decades, now as people live peacefully without any war. The king is well loved by the general public, as are his sons, who are adored by the locals as well as the noble families of the country. But Noah is not really interested in the political intrigue of the kingdom, as he has realized something in the past 6 years about himself. It turns out that he has a special gift which no one else is aware of. He can leech off the XP of his subordinates, which means that the more maids he has, the stronger he can become. This also means that unlike other people who have a cap on their levels, Noah can rank up indefinitely and become the strongest mage on the planet. His maids seem to be completely loyal to him, as they discuss how even at the age of 6, Noah behaves more like an adult than a young kid. He soon goes on to the dining room for some breakfast and thinks about how his abilities and skills are pretty limited at this point because of his young age, but if he keeps training, he should continue to grow at a rapid pace and outshine his older brothers as well. His thoughts are broken by a beautiful maid named Evelyn, who tells him that the crown prince of the kingdom and the 4th prince have both come to visit him. Noah decides to quickly wrap up his breakfast, as even though they are his brothers, he shouldn't make the crown prince to the entire kingdom wait. He soon enters the guest room and goes to one knee as he welcomes his older brothers, the crown prince Albert and the 4th prince Henry. Albert looks at Noah with cold eyes, asking where he was, while Henry greets him more warmly, claiming that Noah seems to be growing into a courteous young man. Albert claims that Noah will make a fine chancellor one day and tells him that he has a present for Noah. He claps his hands, and immediately a terrified servant enters the room carrying a small coffin into the room as it emanates a deadly aura. Noah is confused about such a weird present, but Albert orders the servant to open the coffin, which he reluctantly is forced to do. The moment he opens the coffin, an aura of dead and dying men erupts into the room, which Noah can clearly feel as he stares at the sword inside the coffin, wondering what the hell did he just feel. Before he had a chance to regain his composure, Albert tells him to pick it up and see how it feels. Noah realizes that he doesn't really want to handle the blade, but considering that it's a gift from the royal prince, he can't really refuse and is forced to pick it up. He grabs the sword gently and picks it up, even though it's too big for his tiny body right now. Albert smiles and tells Noah that he knew Noah could do it, and finally explains that this blade is a special sword designed for water mages to wield and is known as Leviathan. He also reveals that before him, more than 120 people have tried holding it, but none survived to tell the tale. This scares him, and he almost drops the shiny blade. But Henry tells him not to worry, as the curse of this sword is so strong that he would have died the moment he touched it, if the sword refused to accept him. With that, Albert and Henry both get up to leave, while Noah bows down, thinking to himself how this despicable crown prince, who is unfortunately his own older brother, was testing him with such a dangerous task for absolutely no reason. But he knows that if he said it out loud, it would mean his head on a spike. Later that evening, while Noah was getting ready for bed, he notices that one of his maids seemed to be very tense, so he asks her whether she is okay. Zoe the maid at first hesitates, but when Noah pushes for the truth, she immediately goes to one knee, claiming that she wants some time off as there has been a flood in her village and everything is swept away. His family is starving, and she plans to sell her body in the red light district in hopes of collecting enough money to help her family. Noah tells her to stop talking, claiming that Zoe is his personal maid and he can't let her go for so long. He tells her to bring her mother to the estate and he will give her the job of the rear gate closer and pay her $5,000 a month. Zoe is confused at this and claims that she has never heard of any position like this, and even then the salary seems to be incredibly high. Noah tells her not to worry about that and also tells her that there is an empty house in the western outskirts of the capital which she can occupy and live in with her mother. Zoe can't believe her ears and starts tearing up when Dylan, the house butler, comes out and asks Noah whether he wanted anything. Noah asks him whether he is aware of the flooding in Zoe's hometown and tells him to buy as much land as possible in that area. Dylan is confused since that would be a bad investment. But Noah tells him that they need to protect the people in need there, as if they don't intervene a bunch of villains will occupy that land and start squatting. Dylan is shocked at this, and Noah asks what's wrong. But Dylan replies that he is just surprised at how well Noah is managing the situation with the foresight of an experienced man, considering he has never experienced anything like this before. Noah thinks about how he has seen more than his fair share of destruction in his previous life, but he obviously cannot reveal that to anyone. Dylan replies that according to his estimation, the entire land should cost roughly $70 million, which shocks Zoe. Even Noah knows that it is a very huge amount. His entire group of retainers earn roughly $80,000 a year. He himself has some $50 million in funds from taxes and gifts from his brothers. But that still leaves $20 million. He turns and asks Dylan about the land that they have in the south of the capital and claims that they will have to sell that land. Dylan is shocked and advises Noah against it since that land was a gift from his father, the king himself, and selling that land would be unimaginably rude to his own imperial family. Noah tells him not to worry about all that as he will deal with his own father later, and tells them that nobles have the duty to sacrifice themselves in order to bring peace and happiness amongst their subjects. More than that, he also knows that a noble who plays the martyr is loved by the public, which might come in handy sooner or later. Dylan bows down to him and tells him that he will deal with everything before leaving to make all the necessary preparations. The next morning, Noah gets ready with his army of maids to prepare everything for an inspection of the flooded area when he gets called out by the fourth Prince Henry. He immediately runs up to him with a warm greeting, apologizing for not coming earlier, but Henry tells him not to worry about it and asks where exactly is Noah planning to go. Noah replies that there is a region named Dasa, which has completely been flooded, and he aims to buy some land there and is planning to inspect the area to assess damage. Henry notices the sword given to him by Albert and asks him whether he is planning to use that during his visit. Noah replies that he is carrying it just in case he has to use it, but he is not sure yet, since he hasn't felt any different about it since his first encounter. Henry takes Noah away from the prying eyes and tells him that he was a little worried about that sword and Albert's sudden generosity, so he did some research on his own and found out that the sword seems to have a mind of its own and can only be controlled by someone who it acknowledges as its true master. Noah remembers the vision he had about all the previous people who tried mastering it, and realizes that this sword is basically like a mad dog, and he will have to earn its ownership before he can truly master it. Henry tells him to be careful and advises against using it unless absolutely necessary, as he has a bad feeling that the sword will take his life, just as it has taken hundreds of people before him. With that bit of warning, Noah leaves for the region of Dasa, and is surprised to see the level of destruction caused by the floods. He tells Dylan to find out the government office nearby and figure out the deeds of these lands, and then he moves into the village alongside Zoe to get a better idea of what's happening on the ground. He notices men in crudely made shelters rounding up to get the government relief food, which makes him a little happy, but that disappears completely when he takes a bite of the shitty porridge being served to them. He can't believe how can the government have such low standards, and was going to ask for the local official of this area, when luckily, the local official, named Lord Garl, enters the area for an inspection. Noah expected him to take actions against the terrible quality of food, but to his surprise, the man blocked his nose and took a look at the porridge before claiming that it was sufficient, which made the cooks happy, who are basically taking advantage of the situation. The chief cook tells him that his food is ready at the mansion, and Garl immediately decides to leave for the feast which was awaiting him. Noah couldn't stand this and immediately goes ahead to confront the man. He calls Garl a corrupt little bastard with a tiny peepee, which hits him where it hurts the most, and the man with the fragile ego immediately pulls a sword at Noah. Noah immediately calls for the sword Leviathan that Albert gave him, hoping that it would kill him, and the sword immediately flies towards him. At first he thought that the sword would just obey him, But he suddenly realizes the true strength of the sword as it starts resisting him, burning him with its powerful sinister aura. Noah, however, refuses to back off and continues on and finally manages to overcome the sword, taking control of the legendary blade once and for all. Once that was done, Garl had no chance, as Noah easily parried his attack and decided that the sentence for cheating the locals during a time of disaster is nothing other than death. With one swift slash, Noah cleaved the head clean off, shocking everyone in the area. Immediately, the guards start surrounding them, and he would have gotten lynched. But he smashes the sword in the ground, creating an incredibly deep hole in the earth, shocking everyone. The chaos attracted the attention of the knight named Rowan, who was recently appointed as the manager of this area, and he immediately recognizes Noah and goes down to his knee. Everyone was surprised, but they soon follow suit, taking a knee in front of him, while Noah tells Rowan that the first thing he needs to do is to make sure everyone here gets good food. And Rowan immediately apologizes for his oversight and gets on the task. After he returns, Noah gets immediately called down to the capital by his father, where he expected to get scolded. But to his surprise, his father praised him for taking the decisions when he took them and checks his stats again, which has grown since the last time he saw them. He thanks Noah for his help and tells him that he will need him to continue aiding him in ruling this kingdom. A couple days pass by, but Noah stays in the capital of the city, as this city is the beating heart of the entire kingdom and the most prosperous place by far, where loads of talented people come to find work. His plan is to bag one of these talented people for himself so that he can increase his own stats and quickly become a force to be reckoned with. His first candidate is a young girl that he has heard about who is supposed to be an incredible singer who has recently been in the talks as a brilliant up-and-comer. He finds out the theater that she is going to perform at and takes a seat alongside Zoe to see whether she is worth the talks or not. Soon, a young girl with a top hat named Ollie emerges on the stage and gets ready to perform in front of an audience. She soon starts singing, and immediately Noah is mesmerized with her voice. He knows that he is not the best technical singer that he has ever heard of, but she is definitely the singer who seems to really love her craft a lot. He thinks that with the right training and guidance, she can achieve greatness and starts considering taking her under his wing. Before the performance could even end though, a bunch of goons break inside the theater and shout at Ollie to shut her dumb ass up. The entire audience hold their breath, wondering what these villains want, while Ollie stands there scared while the goons make their way towards the stage. One of the workers tries to intervene, but the fatty immediately pushes him aside before jumping on the stage itself. He screams at her to pay up, claiming that singing on these stages won't get her enough money to pay her father's debts. She shivers as she tells him to please let her go, as she is trying to earn money and will pay them soon. But the fatty tells her that this is a garbage way of making money, and if she wants to earn loads of money quick and easy, she needs to start a social media channel and upload thirst traps there or sell feed pics, and maybe her bath water. She tells him that she is a respected girl and would never swoop down to do things like that. But the fatty threatens to break both her legs if she doesn't do as he says. That's when Noah decides to intervene and tells Fatty to step away from the girl immediately. The fatty turns around and tells Noah to go back to her mom's lap and drink some milk, or he will beat the crap out of him. Noah doesn't care though. He jumps down from the seat and starts walking towards the stage, telling Fatty that it's illegal to make children assume their parents' law by the decree of the imperial law. Moreover, it's also illegal to force people to sell their bodies in order to pay any sort of debts. The fatty angrily grabs him by the collar and lifts him up in the air, claiming that today is Noah's last day on Earth. But he doesn't really know who he is talking to. With the flick of his fingers, Noah creates a menacing purple aura that knocks all three of the goons to the ground, while Noah takes out his sword and points it at the fatty. The goons realize that they might be outmatched at this point, so they immediately tuck their tails between their legs and immediately start running away. Zoe goes towards the injured worker and helps him up, while Noah tells him that he should send them to him if they ever come back to this place to harass anyone. Zoe hands him a business card, and the worker is shocked to see that the boy in front of them is actually a prince of this kingdom. Noah doesn't really care about the fanfare though, and turns around towards Ollie and asks what her monthly expenses are. She thinks about it for a while, considering the fact that she also has to deal with her mother's treatment, and replies that her monthly expenses should be around $600. Noah tells her that he will pay her $2,500 every month so that she can work on her singing and get better. She is shocked to hear that and can't really believe her own ears, while Noah tells her that her salary would also increase as she gets better. With that, he tells her to complete the song, as he would love to hear how it ends, and returns back to his seat. Later that evening, when he returned back to his own home, he was greeted by his maids when he suddenly notices that the goons from the afternoon are bowing their heads to the ground, begging an audience so that they can apologize. He knows that only now did they realize that he was the prince of the kingdom, but he decides not to entertain them and tells her maid to turn them away, claiming that a prince does not have time to meet with people randomly. Just then, his older brother Henry also arrives, claiming that he has made the right decision as he would devalue his own authority as a prince if he talks to these plebs anytime they want to. Noah tells him that it was not the only reason why he decided to turn them away and explains that he wants them to think that he is still really angry about the stunt they pulled with the girl today, and that might scare them enough to not try and bother her again. Henry asks who this girl is and why does he seem so invested in her. He claims that he is a really good singer, and he thinks that she can be an asset for the kingdom if she keeps improving herself. Henry smiles, claiming that he is very young, but still thinks about the complexities of the situation like an adult. He mentions that Gary is close to his age, but he acts like a total child and is nowhere as smart as him. Noah politely replies that Gary would also start understanding the situation soon enough. He knows that even though he calls them his brothers, Henry and Gary are true blood-related brothers since they are from the same mother, while he has a different mother. Henry then turns the conversation towards his sword, claiming that he didn't really think it possible, but Noah seriously seems to have mastered the sword. He then asks where exactly is the sword and how does he even carry it as it is supposed to be too big for him anyways. Noah gets up and shows how he does it as he quickly uses his magic to summon the sword right in front of his brother. Henry was shocked as this was the first time he saw someone pull things out of their ass, and asks how far in did he put it, and whether it hurt. Noah tells him that it's nothing like that, and he simply shrinks the sword to a small size and then hides it right inside his own sleeve. Henry is left speechless and sits back down with a thud, claiming with a sigh that Noah simply amazes him since that sword was thought to be cursed and put away with all the other national treasures for over 2 centuries at this point, and no one in written history is known to have conquered that blade. Later that night, Noah decides to go to a celebration that he was invited to and spots the goons still on the ground. The fatty gets enraged once again since he keeps getting ignored and screams that he can kill him anywhere he wants, so he shouldn't try to act all high and mighty. In retaliation, Noah simply unleashes a tiny amount of energy from his sword, which immediately brings the fatty down to his knees once again. Noah then gets into the carriage and soon arrives at his destination, where an old man named Ray welcomes him inside. The ballroom immediately starts buzzing with excitement as the news of the 13th prince in the ballroom starts stirring. Ray asks Noah about the sword that he is carrying, and he replies that it's the legendary sword which was thought to be cursed, and it was gifted to him by the Crown Prince Albert. This immediately impresses everyone in the room as they start talking about how getting a personal gift from the Crown Prince is a very big deal. One of the men there with a fragile ego immediately spouts some nonsense about how the sword must be a replica toy, not realizing that he was speaking so loudly that everyone in the room could hear it. The chatter of the room dies down completely as everyone looks at Noah while the guy starts pissing his pants, wondering what's going to happen now. Noah doesn't even lift a finger, but suddenly a deathly aura erupts from his sword and covers the entire room, putting them in a trance. Noah immediately tells the sword to stop and the aura goes away, while Ray is surprised by the powers, claiming that everyone in the room felt a little closer to death. A little while later, he sits down on a small throne while everyone in the room walk up to him to pay their homage and gain his favor. All of them felt pretty boring to him, but then finally a blonde man named Alan walks up and introduces himself and his adopted daughter Cindy. The girl seemed alert by the presence of Noah, but Noah decided to ignore that and asks how did he come to adopt her. Alan explains that he originally bought her from a slave market, but she showed a lot of will and resolve and was a really quick learner while being socially intelligent. Since he didn't have any kids of his own, he decided to adopt her as her own daughter. Noah smiles at him, claiming that he loves stories like this and invites the duo back to his mansion to chat some more. Alan seemed really pleased by the fact that only he was acknowledged amongst them all. But Noah tells Ray that the main reason why he acknowledged them is because Cindy is somehow aware of his power. He demonstrates by releasing a little bit of energy from his sword, but Cindy immediately recognizes that and turns around to make sure they were not going to get attacked. A couple days pass by since that incident when one day while Noah was out on a stroll, he meets with the 8th Prince Oscar, who decides to take a walk with him through the market and try to find some interesting stuff. While looking through a bunch of crap, Noah notices a grimoire, and once he picks it up, it suddenly changes on of his stats to S ranked. He immediately gets interested and buys it, but notices his sword seems to be reacting to it. Oscar seems to recognizes the book as a magical tome made by some sorcerer long ago. But the book suddenly opens up and releases a huge monster out in the open. Oscar tells Noah to back off and go to safety, but Noah simply takes out his sword and squares up to the demon. He tries to slice through the magical being but fails for the first time. That's when he decides to use a bit of extra magic with his next slice and aims it upwards so he doesn't destroy anything else. With that, the magical creature ceases to exist while Oscar stands there wondering how strong is his little brother at this point. Watching this amazing feat, one of the shopkeepers run out and bow to the ground, requesting Noah to have a look at an item he has in his shop which might as well be a treasure. He takes the princes back to his shop and shows them a magical ring, claiming that this ring has yet to accept anyone as the owner and asks Noah to try it. Noah puts the ring on his thumb and immediately the magic activates and his entire body gets covered with a beautiful plate of armor. The shopkeeper is shocked, but Noah really likes it and buys it at that very instant. But Oscar refuses to let him pay for it, claiming that it will be a gift to him from his side. With that out of the way, he decides to head back to the theater to watch Ali sing. But the moment he gets out the carriage, Fatty attacks him with a sword. Noah immediately uses a shield in his ring to block the attack, while the carriage driver subdues the fatty to the ground and captures him. Noah doesn't really care about it at this point and enters the auditorium to watch Ali on stage, dealing with two drunk men who are fighting with each other over her. Noah intervenes and uses his magic to destroy their clothes, after which they run away from the theater. He then calls the owner in and tells him that he is disappointed with the security or the lack thereof in this theater and offers him to buy the entire place. The owner was a little hesitant, but Zoe immediately produces $100,000 out of her ass, which gives the owner all the motivation he needed and he immediately sells it. Zoe thanks the prince, claiming that she can never repay the debt she owes him, but he tells her to focus on singing as he wants her to sing in front of the king one day. With that, he sits back down in the audience as Ollie begins one of her songs specially for him. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.